All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time once again. Dan Lindsay is back here in the Lopes Goes Last podcast studio because we are just a few short days away from Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia. Dan, I know you're not getting up at 5 a.m. to watch this thing. I shouldn't be either, but I'm too much of a crazy person. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up. I might fall asleep halfway through. Right, yes, exactly. I have a doctor's appointment that same morning anyway. I might as well just get up. It's fine. So we'll go with it. But again, only a few short days away, and so much like we did for Survivor Series and for the Royal Rumble, we are doing our predictions for the Elimination Chamber. We are also going to talk about what we think the match order is going to be, and just for fun, since we did all of our fantasy bookings, if you haven't seen those, definitely check them out, by the way. We're also going to be looking to see how we did. Spoiler, very poorly.
Yeah, very poorly.
So we're going to compare the card of what it is right now to what we had back in, December and January-ish when we did those fantasy bookings. So today's going to be a lot of fun, Dan. I'm really excited to get jumping into this. First thing I want to ask you, if you had to give like a grade, I guess, for Elimination Chamber in terms of your excitement, in terms of what you think the card's going to be, what would you give it?
I would probably give it, I think off the top of my head, probably like a B+. I think we're going to get good matches. Obviously we've seen a lot of premium events, especially around like gimmick matches, only have a couple extra other matches.
Yep.
Rumble only had 2 other matches, which I felt was really weird. I don't think it really helped the card at all between the Rumbles. And I'm kind of like, I almost wish we had one more match in Chamber, and that's kind of where I give that. I feel, on one hand, I like that we're getting a number 1 contenders match for the World Heavyweight Championship. We're getting some obvious names in there, a couple names that it's nice to see in there at the same time. We'll talk about that more, but I feel like the extra 2 matches are kind of like, they're there. We're not getting the U.S. title because the 2 people centered around the U.S. title are in the Chamber match. We're not getting the IC title. Gunther's not able to go to Australia. Nothing to take away from, Rhea being able to headline in Australia, which is awesome, obviously. And we have already been told we're going to get a Waller effect, so Grayson Waller's going to be there. I also give it B+ because no Bronson Reed. Like, they had the perfect opportunity to put him in the Chamber. He could have been the first person eliminated for all I care, but they had the perfect opportunity to put him in the Chamber. But they put Bobby Lashley over him. Nothing against Bobby, but why isn't it Bronson Reed? Like, I don't get it. Maybe Reed will come out and cost him early or something. I don't know. But at the same time, it's like, you had the perfect opportunity. You had 2 of the wrestlers, and he didn't put Reed in there. Like,
yeah. And that before we jump into the actual card and everything, yes, that does certainly bother me as well. And it's not even the he's Australian and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, certainly it's part of it. But for me, it's the whole world and the whole planet knows that Bobby Lashley already has a story right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason he's not going to win the World Heavyweight Championship right now.
Mm-hmm.
So why would he win the Chamber? So that means that his spot needs to go to somebody that doesn't need to win the Chamber. So why is Bobby in there?
Yeah.
When you could have had Bronson Reed in there in front of his home country.
Mm-hmm.
The guy tweeted out how heartbroken he was that he's not going to get to wrestle in front of his family.
Yeah.
Like, that's so sad. Like, you could say what you want. Maybe, people out there might not like Bronson Reed. They might not understand the character or don't like his work. Whatever. That's fine. Everybody's their opinion. I certainly don't think he's the greatest. I mean, he was good in NXT. I liked him. I certainly didn't think he got a fair shake. But he's definitely not terrible. Even if you don't like him, you can't say that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
For that guy.
Grayson Waller gets his talk show on there, but Bronson Reed doesn't get in the match.
Yeah, it's upsetting. Okay. And maybe they'll have him be, maybe he'll come out and cut a promo or something. I don't know. Just something.
Host
Give the guy
a show.
I hope he doesn't host the show. He'd be a very poor host. But something. Give the guy something. That's what matters. But okay. Do you want to jump into our fantasy bookings and see how that went?
Yeah, no, I think we definitely both, we're off base. I know you got one match right in the nose with Rhea and Nia Jax. But
yep.
Well, what was the rest of your fantasy booking card here?
Yeah, so, and you know, obviously I'm going to be wrong on just about all of this, but I am still very proud of my card. I think that if the injury bug didn't bite really badly, I think that they probably would have gone in a direction the way I had it instead of the way that they're doing it. Obviously, that may not necessarily be true. They could have done just about everything that they have done right now, but I don't think that they would have. I think that my card would have probably been more realistic, at least in most aspects. So what I had, I had CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre to be the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. The reason I had that was because Drew and CM Punk were feuding on television. I would have had, I believe in my booking, I had Drew McIntyre eliminate CM Punk from the Rumble. But I think in real life, quite frankly, just like it was in real life, they would have done the opposite, which, I mean, it would have done the same thing, so whatever. You know, I'm proud of that. I think, honestly, that's probably where they would have gone. I'd have been pretty surprised had they not done that.
It seemed very much turning up.
It felt like they were setting up Drew versus Punk at Chamber. And I honestly, I thought that, you know, despite my Cody Rhodes fandom and my booking of Cody to win the Rumble and my saying, no, he's going to win it, like just being firm on that, by the end, I was pretty fully convinced it was going to be Punk. I think most everybody was. Now, whether that was the plan or not, I don't know, but I wouldn't have been surprised had they had Punk win the Rumble and Drew just be so ticked off and say, you haven't been here, you don't deserve to be the World Heavyweight Champion, I should, and then they do their match at Chamber and Punk wins. So that's what I had. I also had a World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber. I knew that this match wasn't going to happen. Not necessarily the concept itself, but the people in it. I just more did it for fun. I did it for, you know, mine was Seth Rollins versus Chad Gable versus Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa versus Sami Zayn versus Dominic Mysterio. That was my 6. I just thought that it would be fun. I thought it would give some guys a nice showcase. I had Chad Gable getting 3 eliminations and being the last one eliminated, Seth ultimately retaining. So I had that booking him strong and hopefully carrying him into his next step with whatever he's going to be doing. Whether it's with Gunther in the IC title or whether it's United States or whether it's a world title down the line. I don't know. That was kind of my thing. I had the SmackDown Championship Women's Chamber. I had Shotzi, who unfortunately, I don't know if you heard this, got very injured. Spoilers, sorry. You're going to see, well, I guess by the time this comes out, it won't be spoilers, but spoilers right now as we're recording this because we haven't actually seen the show, but she, I forget what it was, blew out her ACL or something.
Yeah, it's not good. She's
not good. She's going to be out for a very long time, so we pray for Shotzi that she makes full recovery. It's obviously terrible. But Shotzi, I had Michin, Bailey, Io Sky. I'm blanking completely on who the 5th woman was, but then I had Naomi actually returning in Elimination Chamber. Yeah. She came back a month early at the Rumble. Great, well and good, and it's gonna kill me that I can't remember the last woman in there. But quite frankly, it was inconsequential. It didn't really.
Bianca's the only one I can think of. Maybe.
No, Bianca was injured. I had her being written off for injury because she was attacked by damage control. It seriously was like, it wasn't Selena Vega, but you could just put Selena Vega in there. It doesn't matter. Like, whoever it was inconsequential to the story and what they were trying to tell. So, not necessarily that big a deal. But that's what I had. Obviously, no SmackDown Championship Women's Chamber. There is a number one contenders chamber there, which I think is good.
Yes.
Or not a number one contenders chamber. It's no, it is a number one contender. Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking SmackDown. I don't mind, but there is a women's chamber, so got some of the participants right.
You got Naomi right.
I did get Naomi right on accident, obviously. And then what else? I had Judgment Day versus the Creed brothers, with the Creed brothers actually walking in as champions. Obviously, that didn't happen. I really thought they were pulling the trigger. It felt like they were. Obviously, they did not.
Disappeared a little bit.
They did, and that's a shame because they're still really just freaking talented. I hope that they win the championships at some point. I hope that it's soon. Also, I'd love to see them on top. And then I had Creed brothers obviously retaining their championships because again, I had them walking in as champions at that point. They did not do that. I had Gunther versus Bronson Reed for the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, I was not aware that Gunther was not able to compete outside of the U.S. at the moment. And so, obviously, not having that knowledge, if I had that knowledge, I would not have booked that match, clearly. But it is a shame. We already talked about Bronson Reed not being on the show. I think that's baloney. I think, while obviously I don't think that they would have done a World Heavyweight Championship chamber, I think that they would have done Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins. I think that was the plan. Because Bronson Reed did a vignette where he said there's a champion on Raw that I'm coming after and he doesn't even know it yet. And then literally that night Seth Rollins blew out his knee. And so I'm pretty sure they had to scrap that. I think that was the plan. That's my theory. I could be completely off. He could have just faced Gunther. I don't know. Right. But obviously I made the booking before that vignette came out. So I think that was what the plan was going to be. But I think that is... I think that's everything. I don't think I'm forgetting.
That's 6 or 7, I think you have.
Yeah, I had a lot of matches. Way too many, obviously, compared to what they're having now. So, but looking at that, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my card. I think it's a good card, but obviously way off, not even close. But that's the point of the fantasy bookings, is to have fun and
we had fun
do
with
something
that.
different.
I think we had the one commonality with.
Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. Yeah. That was the one that I got right. I never said that one. He said that I got one right at the beginning, and I never said I had Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. So I did get one right.
Yes.
So there you go. But anyways,
a couple participants in the chambers, right? Different chambers, but yeah.
Yep.
But we both had Bronson Reed, Gunther facing off. That was like the only commonality. I think in our fantasy bookings, I had the U.S. title. That's obviously not being defended, even though both participants are in the chamber. Which again, I kind of go with. I always liked your idea with the chamber because it's like give some mid-carders a little bit more of a chance to make a name for themselves, be in something exciting.
Yeah, it
like
worked
that.
Last year. Last year was great.
Worked very well last year. So do the same. So they're in there. I had Rollins versus Priest. That booking is probably like the one booking I regret trying to do because I figured Priest would have cashed in early. Now who knows when he cashes in?
Yeah.
I mean, I think before injuries we were probably like he's probably going to cash in at or the day after WrestleMania. Now at this point I don't even expect him to cash in until whatever the June PLE is. It's just I don't know. I find it very interesting that he still has briefcase. I mean, we've seen people holding the briefcase for a long time, many times, but it's like I feel like they've missed a couple opportunities, and now that they've missed a couple opportunities, it's kind of like there are really more any opportunities that make sense that don't hurt Priest or don't hurt whoever he goes after. You brought the NXT title a couple podcasts ago, so I mean maybe they go that route. Who knows? But I just find it interesting that they still pulled the trigger on that, but that's unfortunate. I didn't have any women's match. The only women's match I had in the card for the fans booking was the women's tag title chambers. I was trying to remember earlier today. I know I had a big collection of that, but I think it was the number one contendership to take it off of the Kabuki I think it was number one contendership, but the Kabuki Warriors winning that number one contendership, but. There you have the titles now. We probably won't see a tag match with the women's division for probably at least another month. Probably not till WrestleMania, unfortunately.
Yep.
Because there's enough people to kind of to have some stuff there. The chamber matches, or that was one chamber match. The other chamber match I had was a number one contender match. I just had the wrong title involved. So I like to claim like a half. Do I get a half credit for that one?
You know what? Please? I'm in a good mood. I'll give you a half credit.
Half credit, okay.
I'm in a good mood.
I had Knight in there. I had Orton in there. I know I had Jimmy. I know I had Jay in there. Cody in there because of who I picked to win the Rumble, Men's Rumble, and
AJ maybe.
I'm thinking.
No, AJ. You had
no, because I had
Roman facing AJ at Mania.
Right, because I had three. I had 3 Raw, 3 SmackDown.
SAMI, maybe?
SAMI, I think.
SAMI? Okay.
SAMI or Finn. Might have been Finn, actually.
Actually, you know what? I think I remember you saying it was Finn now that you mentioned it. Yeah, that makes sense. Poor SAMI.
So, yeah. Poor SAMI. It's like, I'm hoping he gets something. I'm very curious to see where his next month and a half, 2 months go for him.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, we always, I'd love to see. It'd be odd for not seeing a lot of names on the WrestleMania card, but I think he would be at the very top of the list right now to be like, he didn't get a WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
You know, so I'd be very disappointed if he didn't get a WrestleMania match. It doesn't even have to be a title match. Maybe it will be the way he's talking with some vignettes right now. But we'll see.
Yeah, and
go Sammy.
We all love Sammy. The only person who does not love Sammy is one of my bosses at work. She hates him. I don't know why. Hates him so much. Thinks he's the worst. But you know, we'll just we'll love her anyway, guys. She's a good person. But no, I think that Sammy is in a spot where one of two things is going to happen. I think that with the original plan, which I assume was, quite frankly, I believe that the WrestleMania card was going to be Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre in just a blood feud match, and then Seth versus Punk. I think now that Drew is occupied, I think at this point Sami is either going to face Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship at Mania. I don't know whether he wins or he loses. It could go either way for me, and I'm okay. Or I would like to see him in a role where he takes on somebody new at Mania. A Braun Breaker, an Andrade, somebody in like that Seth when he faced Cody spot. Or when Sammy was saying goodbye to NXT and they brought Shinsuke Nakamura over from Japan and said, Sammy, I want you to be his first opponent because you've earned it. And I don't want you to just leave on just a random, like, your last match should be at a takeover. Your last NXT match should be at a takeover. And it was brilliant. One of the best matches ever in any company. So, fantastic. I'd like to see him maybe in that role. That'd be cool. I think that the story...
Him and Shinsuke are feuding right now, oddly enough.
Yeah, and nobody cares, which is just... Boy, howdy, how far we've come.
Yeah.
Not the best. But I think either one of those spots would be fine for Sammy. That's where I think he's going to go. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, okay. Now that we've got to make fun of each other's cards... that we've done for fantasy booking. I'm interested to hear how you think the card layout's going to be for Chamber.
So I took an interesting route here. Cause I kind of trying to find like some cohesion between some of the events. Hopefully, I don't want to say learn from their mistakes. I feel they know what they're doing, or they have a good head, good ideas in their head. It's not like they don't. People that run WWE with Triple H and everything. It's just more of like, here's what I would like to see based on kind of just rumble just the way that kind of all went to where it seemed disjointed, having really only 2 matches. You couldn't cool down the crowd correctly. So a couple of the big matches that were on that card, because it was like 2 chambers that were good, that were billed to be really good, and then 2 other matches that we knew were going to be really good matches. There wasn't anything to be like, the crowd to be like, okay, we can breathe. There wasn't like a Waller effect or The Miz hosting and making fun of stuff or being yelled at or booed or whatever. It wasn't anything like that, or Cena coming out to try to show for something or another. So I think that's nice to know that we are getting a Waller effect this time. But I think that my first match, I think, is actually going to be the men's chamber.
Open the show with the men.
Open up with a bang here, and I think that could segue well into the Waller effect. And I think, again, just let that crowd just kind of like settle, like, whoa, take that all in from the chamber. And be like, oh, so that's what we're gonna get for challenging Seth at WrestleMania. Obviously a lot of people are pretty much talking about one particular person. We've talked about before we recorded, there's probably 2 big people to pick from there, so I don't think there'll be too much of a surprise, but at the same time, lately I feel like WWE has done a really good job at, even though we might know the end result of the match, or we're pretty sure we know who's going to win the match based on rumors, or just figuring out ourselves based on storylines, they still suspend the disbelief during the match. Jey Uso and Gunther, Monday Night Raw, and Jay pretty much had that one except for Jimmy, which again, great story, and I get why they did that way for a story, but you wouldn't think of it as Jay as position-wise where he is within Raw to be like the guy to take it off of Gunther, but I think it was at least a little believable, even though it's like you're gonna, and we talked about this too before we record. It's like you're gonna really take a title off of Gunther after 600 plus days as IC title on a Raw.
Raw, yeah, to a guy that already has a story that doesn't need a championship.
Yeah,
yeah.
So that didn't really seem to jive. So I'm not surprised. I'm not at all surprised that Gunther retained, but they at least gave us a good suspension of disbelief that, like, well, maybe Jay does pull this off. Oh, of course Jimmy would interfere here. So anyway, that's why I think men's chamber. I think you can segue well into the Waller effect. Then I think you go from the Waller effect to the men's tag match. Again, kind of keeping with that mindset of, okay, we're gonna get a good tag match. I feel between the British Strong Style, horribly wrong there, versus Judgment Day. I think we're gonna get a good match there, but again, ease the crowd back into the rest of the card. So after the men's tag, I think we'll get Rhea not defending against Nia, and then my last, I think, end the night with the women's chamber.
Okay.
And sorry, as a side note of that too, I like the reason I went that too is like Rhea retains, she sits on commentary during the chamber match just to see who her next opponent is. Sure.
I kind of had it. I kind of had it flipped. I have Becky sitting on commentary after winning the women's chamber early in the night. Spoilers. I don't think really who else is winning. But I mean, let's be honest. That's in my opinion anyway. Maybe Dan has a different opinion, but I would have Becky win the chamber and then come out on commentary to see who wins the match, because then it's just easy.
Yeah.
From there.
Stare down.
Fair enough. Yeah. So definitely different from my card. I like your card for sure. My card, I have the women's chamber opening. I think that having a kind of surefire good match with 6 fantastic performers, I think is going to be a really good way to open up the show. I think that for me, oftentimes the reason why I loved NXT was because there was a stretch for like a year and a half where the opening match was just as good or better than the main event. And that was not because the main events were bad. It's because the opening matches were just that freaking good. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of the Undisputed Era tag matches against Mustache Mountain or the Viking Raiders or whoever it would have been, right? Insert team name here. Right. Ole Larkin and Danny Burch. Like, unbelievable opening matches, right? And then obviously you had like the 5-man North American Championship ladder match. That was a 5-star match. I think it was the only ladder match to ever get a 5-star match. Like, ridiculously good shocker. Opening matches. So I think that the women's chamber is going to be better than the men's chamber. I think much like the women's rumble was better than the men's rumble, I want the women to open up the show, have the best match of the night, which is what I think it will be, and just have that crowd on their feet. Because they're going to be on their feet for their main event anyway with the way I have this booked. It's not going to matter. Right. So I would have that opening. And then I'd follow it up with the tag match. I think that's a good, no offense, I think it's a good cool down. Yeah. Because let's be frank, I love Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate more than most humans should. But they have approximately a 0% chance of winning that match. We 1%. All know, okay, fine, I'll give them 1%. But like, we all know where the story's going. We all know where this is going. Now, look,
so if you want to think this is possible.
Now, if you want to, you know what I would like. Here's what I would like, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit later. But I'm just gonna give a little bit of a teaser here. I'm not gonna say the names, but you're gonna know who I'm talking about. I think that you can have Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate look like they're gonna win, like 100%. They're beating Judgment Day, no questions asked, and then they are cost the match by 2 other fellas. I'm not going to say who the other fellas are, but they're cost the match, and I'll go into who that is later. I'm sure you know exactly who I'm talking about, and I'm sure some people there know who I'm talking about too. But
Yeah.
that's the way I would probably book it. So I would have that second. And then I'd have the Grayson Waller effect just right in the middle of the show. Have it be the centerpiece of the show. And obviously, you could do whatever you want with that. I don't know how deep it's going to go.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know if they're going to make a tag match for Mania. Seth and Cody versus Rock and Roman. I don't know if they're just going to have a segment between all four again. I don't know if they're just going to have Cody and Seth shake hands again on the same page and then move forward. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to have Doink the Clown come back. Well, I don't know. Like, they can do whatever they want. We'll see. But, I put that in the middle. And then I would actually have the men's chamber on second to last. I would put the men's chamber on right after. And I would probably... the reason I would have that is because the first entrant is Drew McIntyre. I would have Drew McIntyre's music hit as the kind of all these stare downs are happening or whatever at the end of Grayson Waller effect,
Nice.
and have Seth immediately transition to either commentary or just sit there and watch the chamber, because whoever he's facing is going to be win that chamber. So I would just kind of transition that way and do that. But also the main reason I would do that is because Mommy has got to be in the main event in her home country. To me, right now, for me. I guess she doesn't have to. But in my mind, I think she deserves it. I think, I don't know if she's going to win at WrestleMania. I don't know if she's going to retain or not. But either way, I think that she has been one of the best acts, one of the best things about WWE for the last year and a half. Mm-hmm. She deserves it. She's in her home country. Yes. She should main event. Nia Jax, sure, I guess she can deserve it. I guess we'll pretend.
The main event is for Rhea, not for Rhea.
Yeah, exactly. Nia can thank Rhea for that main event. You're welcome. You're welcome.
The only one she'll ever have.
Hopefully. But we'll see. But I would have that be the match, kind of the way it plays out. And again, that means that the winner of the women's chamber, who again I have Becky, I already said it. Can be on commentary, and kind of that'll be the last stare down. Mommy versus the man. At least in I'd be real confused if that's not where they went, considering that's all they've told us. To the point where Raquel Rodriguez had to come out and be like, "You guys know that Nia could totally be the champion after nobody else is acknowledging this, just me." And everybody was like, "No, yeah, literally only you are acknowledging it. We're just gonna pretend that that's not a thing." I guess. All right. So that's the way I would have it. Yeah. But whatever way they choose to go, it's going to be a great show. We're going to be excited. And no matter the way they go, I'm going to fall asleep. That's how that's gonna go.
My plan is to get up at 5:45, rewind to the back, rewind to the front of the PLE, and catch up. Skip the commercial and promos until I catch up to the show.
Fair enough. Hopefully that works for you. I don't know. I've never done that, so we'll see.
I've done that before because I know the replay, and we've talked about this replay. You got to wait a full day for the replay.
Yeah, and maybe they don't. Maybe they won't do that because it's in Australia. Who knows? But I know that usually that's the case. It's 24 hours later. But all right, man.
What you want to talk about the Rhea Nia match first?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Rhea's retaining. I think that she's going to figure out a way, and I'll tell you, I predicted this match to be the case, which I'm proud of. I think that I'm glad I got one right. Out of all the things, I also got Cody Rhodes winning the Rumble right. So that's
I won't let that down.
Bam.
Soon.
There you go. But no, I just can't stand the way that the story has been told. I can't tolerate it. I know that a big chunk of that is because I can't tolerate Nia Jax. I understand that that's probably the case. I am acknowledging it here, much like I acknowledge my tribal chief. But yes, there you go. Not for long, pal. But anyway, I understand that's a big part of it. But another big part of it is just, there's ways to make somebody look good, right? There's ways to make somebody really seem like they are a big threat to your championship. I understand that that's what they're doing with Nia. But somebody please explain to me why it was necessary for Nia Jax to destroy all 6 number 1 contender people at one time. By herself, with no difficulty at all. Because Nia's gonna lose, guys. She's not beating Rhea Ripley.
And that's probably the reason why they did that segment with her doing that. Just like, to again be like, oh, because I mean, so many times they telegraph certain things, like on the Go Home shows, it's like, let's make this person look good just a little bit more right before they lose a big match.
But there's ways to do it other than I'm going to bury our entire roster. Because to me, I'm just doing the Pythagorean theorem in my head. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I think that's the Pythagorean theorem. Am I wrong? That's the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah,
one of those math equations that, like, you know, or like, you know,
we're talking wrestling, not math.
Yeah, but like the point is like if you have this, and this is greater than this, and this is greater than this, then that obviously means this is greater than this. Like that's where. So like if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, that clearly means A is greater than C. So if Nia Jax murders every single woman on the roster, and then Rhea Ripley murders Nia Jax, then guess what that means? Nobody on the roster has a chance against Rhea forever and ever, or else the story makes no sense anymore. That's what that means to me.
Yeah.
Like, so there's ways to do it. Have Nia Jax face Maxine and just kill her or something, or have her face.
She actually might though.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Well, yeah, fair. She might literally kill her.
Maxine's just like.
but the point is there's ways to do it other than what you did on Monday.
I get that.
And you want to have her attack Rhea again. I had to say, now you could say this isn't exactly the beacon of great booking in terms of Vince, but I had to watch Fandango hit his same stupid leg drop on Chris Jericho for 5 straight weeks when they were building to their WrestleMania match. Was it the best thing ever? Was it boring? Yeah, it was boring. It wasn't the best thing ever at all. But you know what? At least his finisher's a leg drop. Hey, this is Fandango. Hey, he's doing pretty well against Chris Jericho right now. We might not want to count the guy out. At least it was telling a story of some kind that made sense.
Yeah.
So, like, there's ways that you could do it. You want to have Nia attack Rhea again and beat her up again? Fine. Go right ahead. That's your story. Oh, man, she's gotten the better of Rhea every time. This is getting bad. I don't know if Rhea's got a chance here. There's your story. You don't have to bury every woman on the freaking roster. That's stupid.
Yeah, and they've kind of told that already, I think, a little bit, where it's like, Nia finally got her comeuppance like 2 weeks ago on Raw, where Rhea finally got the upper hand.
Yeah.
Silent interview. But yeah, no, I mean, I think this match is very much, we're thinking the same thing. Obviously, Rhea wins. At most, I think this is a 10, maybe 12-minute match. I don't expect it to be very long.
Yeah, no. Nia Jax can't
let Nia get some offense in for a little bit, but it's like, then Rhea's like, nope, we're doing this. Like, get out of my country.
Yes,
hopefully. It's and it's like, and I kind of hope we get Nia kind of out of the picture of the women's title for a little while, or any just kind of disappeared to post WrestleMania. Honestly, because of what happened last night on Raw, where she did come out and take out everybody. I don't look at it quite as extreme as you have burying it. I get it, but but hopefully we can just see her. Neither of us are the biggest fan. I mean, I picked her as my Rumble winner just because I wanted to go against the grain a little bit more than anything. So it's just very interesting to me. It should be a decent match, and I think, not as the main event against Rhea.
Yeah,
that's the only reason.
Well, in mine, in yours,
I could see that happening. Like, as much as I like what I have for a card, I could see that match order happen. Very happy. Seems very plausible, very easy to flow. For a card. So
sorry if you could hear that. I just got a dog. He's misbehaving. I can hear him outside the door.
Oh no!
But that's okay. He's a good boy most of the time. But anyway, so I think that makes a lot of sense. And then kind of transitioning from there. I mean, obviously this is gonna have to do with Rhea, the women's chamber. We might as well just go right into that.
Yeah, just go into
it. What do you have in terms of who do you think's winning that?
Well, I kind of want to do some rapid fire a little bit, kind of go back on like the whole chamber a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
So for Who's your first two?
My first two are Becky and Liv.
Okay. My first two would be Bianca and Tiffany.
Bianca and Tiffany. I like that better. Actually, I like that better.
You seem to do this a lot.
I would prefer to. Well, listen, we're two different people. We have two different. Yeah, and that's great. The reason I had Becky and Liv, to me, it was just like I just think that'd be fun. Yeah. I think that it'd be like they shake hands. They had their promo on Raw, and I thought Liv actually probably the best promo she's ever cut. Because let's be honest, she's not the best talker.
No.
So I thought that she held her own really, really well. Yep. Kind of felt like she thought that somebody was going to come out and interrupt her a little sooner than they did. She just kind of had to ramble a little, but that's okay. That happens. But I thought it was good, and so I was like, why not have them start, see what happens.
Then who comes out next throughout the chamber?
So at that point, I would probably go. I guess Naomi wouldn't be too bad at 3. Okay. Just have it go right to Naomi. And then for me, at 4, I would have Raquel. And then at 5, I would have Tiffany Stratton. And then 6, I'd have Bianca.
Okay, I think we're pretty much flipping our order here.
Is it like you went like my 6
almost.
Is your 1? Oh man, that's funny.
That's what's actually happening here. So I would have Naomi come out as 3. We'll call it.
I got that right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of funny. But then I would go Becky, and then last one would be Liv. To me,
So we have our 3 and 4s right, but then the bookends are
right. And I'm looking at that too. It's like I'm looking at that as far as the entrance and kind of their personas right now, right today. I mean, I'm really only looking at 2 heels probably in that match with Tiffany and I guess Liv as a heel-ish.
Kinda, yeah. We don't really know
because we don't really know Naomi because she just got back to the company. Liv just got back at Rumble. So I'm kind of like, we have one heel in Tiffany, and then kind of heels in Naomi and Liv. Maybe they turn Raquel heel at some point.
I think certainly they will at some point. I think it just you got too many baby faces on Raw at this point. Not a lot of heels. You could think about all the. I guess Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark are bad guys, but not really, but kinda. But we don't really know. So it's just very bizarre. The only heel women on the roster right now are Nia Jax, Valhalla, but why? Who cares? And I guess Zoe Stark and then I guess Chelsea and Piper are bad guys. But this is not a whole lot of depth there,
right?
Because I guess Rhea's a heel, but she's really nobody hates Rhea Ripley.
No.
You're weird if you hate Rhea Ripley.
Is there anybody that's not in the women's chamber that you wish would have been in the chamber?
So there were rumblings that Jade was going to be in the chamber.
Yes.
There were rumblings that Jade was also going to win the chamber.
Yes.
And I think that it was probably the smart move to not have her in it because I don't think she would have won it.
Right. I don't think and we've talked about this, but I think I've seen some of the same stuff where it's like if you put Jade in and she loses, do you really want to start off something like you really want to start her career off where it's
not her.
She's the woman that looks like she could beat literally everybody on the roster. Took care of Nia by herself, which we've talked about a lot.
I think Triple H learned from himself, weirdly, where he was like, I did that to Goldberg. I really should not do that again. Because Goldberg, everybody was like, Goldberg's winning the championship. Oh, he's eliminating everybody. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, God, he lost to Triple H. Oh, that's bad. And then it was over at that point. We all know what Goldberg ended up doing in the company, and it was not much. No. So he was dead from then. He was dead in the water at that point, and Jade would be too. So
right.
I think, especially if he did something screwy, freaking, every woman in the chamber just beat her up for no reason or something, just something ridiculous. No. Or Nia Jax tried to, kill her from behind or something, something stupid. It just wouldn't have made sense. So I think keeping her out of there is fine. But if she was going to win the chamber, I would have liked to see her in it, obviously, because I would have loved to see Jade versus Rhea. That would have been fun. That's what I had at Mania. But obviously they're not going that direction, and that's fine. Yeah. So that would have been maybe one that I would have liked to see. Outside of that, not really.
Right.
I think that they honestly did about as good a job as they could do in there. I think that definitely if Bayley had not have won the Rumble, would have loved to see Bayley win the chamber.
Yes.
I think that would have been fun. Maybe Dakota Kai just for the story, but we don't know if she's cleared or not. It's
Right.
very weird.
Yeah.
But that not really outside of Jade. I think quite frankly they did it about as perfect as they could.
Yeah, I think Naomi being back helps out a lot.
Sure. Yeah. Certainly.
Don't have to worry about trying to put Jade in that spot, especially if you don't book her to win it. How about elimination order?
Elimination order.
Yeah, like who do you have eliminated first?
And that's difficult because all of them deserve to not be.
Right.
Like they're all so good that they should not be the first eliminated.
Yeah.
I think.
I can go over my first four first if you want to think about it a second.
I think unfortunately the person that's coming to me, I think it's gotta be Naomi to me. I don't love that. Like that hurts me to say. I don't want that. I don't want any of them to be eliminated first.
Right.
But you got to.
Yeah.
So I'd say Naomi, and then probably Liv, and then Raquel, and then Tiffany Stratton, and then Bianca. I think Becky beats Bianca at the end. I think that's what you got to do because why not have Becky versus Bianca at the end there a little
fun.
bit.
We've kind of gotten that.
Yeah.
But it's been a little while. My first thought would be Tiffany, and I'm more went off of
Tiffany.
that. I'm more enough that she's kind of the newer face to everything, but I have Naomi out there. And I was kind of waiting to figure out this order until I figured out who won the Battle Royal not Battle Royal, I guess it was the Battle Royal for the last spot, which was a lot more people than I thought it was going to be.
I know, right?
But then, so I have Tiffany out, then Naomi, then Raquel, Bianca out as well. So my final two are actually Liv and Becky. And I actually have Liv winning the Chamber.
Liv winning the Chamber. Liv versus Rhea at Mania?
Yep, and part of that is I feel there are so many stories right now that are centered around bloodline characters that's just going to overwhelm the WrestleMania card so much, I feel. They're going to take all the headlines. Let's save Rhea and Becky for just a little bit longer. Let's save it till Money in the Bank. Let's save it till SummerSlam. Not that I wouldn't mind if it was at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know who I would pick to win that match at WrestleMania, but I feel like, Liv is talking about her revenge tour and stuff like that, and I feel like you could do a match, or you maybe even figure out a way to make it. Becky's wormed her way into a triple threat match at WrestleMania before. Maybe you go that way. Because they're the final two. But I rather see Liv in a WrestleMania match with Rhea, mostly just because I don't want to see a Becky-Rhea match buried on the WrestleMania card.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear you talk about that because I actually feel the exact opposite. I think that the only way to not have the bloodline overshadow everything is to have a WrestleMania main event worthy match between two. Yeah. And no offense to Liv, but she's been off TV.
Right.
We don't know how much she could... I mean, not to say that she can't wrestle. Obviously, she can. Yeah. But I'm just saying, we don't know how 5-star quality match she can go right now. Because she's just got back. I don't expect her to be the best wrestler on planet Earth right the second she gets back in the ring. Nobody should. Yeah. Nobody is. So for me, I think that the only way that you're going to have main event, people talking about your match, is... if it's Rhea versus to make it as headline worthy as possible, because for me, I think that you can easily tell a story to get Liv distracted, for just a month and a half, and just have her do wrestle Tiffany at WrestleMania or something, or have a nice fun match with Naomi, or something just do something, or if the world if kind of things makes sense. I think that I would really like maybe a Liv Morgan versus a returning Sonya Deville or something like that. Maybe just a nice little blood feud like that. For some reason, Sonya blames Liv for her injury because I think it was Liv and Raquel were feuding with Chelsea and Sonya at that time.
Seems to be right, yeah.
So maybe you could just tell a story there. I don't know, but I think that the Liv Rhea stuff is good enough to headline a Backlash for the title. Not headline like main event, but be a pay-per-view match after Mania, excuse me. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know if I'd want to see that at Mania. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't be against it because it is a good story, the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour. Like, yeah, that's fine. But to me, I would rather see Becky and Rhea not main event Mania, but, be at Mania, and then you could do the Liv Morgan one next. Spoiler as to who I would have win that match, by the way. Rhea, I think. I think that you gotta... I think at this point, Becky needs to start taking a back seat. I think she's done more than enough proving herself at this point.
Well, I mean, she's accomplished about everything you can accomplish.
Yep. I mean, she won the NXT Championship. That was the one thing she hadn't done.
Yep.
Was won the NXT Championship. She did that this year. There you go. You've done no other... There's no other things you could do now.
Being in a chamber match might be the only other thing.
Was she in...
She might have been in one before.
Was she in a Women's Money in the Bank match at some point?
Maybe.
I don't think she won a Women's Money in the Bank, but I don't know if she's been in it. But anyway, point being, I feel the opposite, right? Now, I can completely understand where you're coming from, where it's like, shoot, I don't want to waste this match because nobody's going to care about it anyway. But to me, I think you got to make them care. Right. Make them care about it, and that's kind of how. And
you know how I am. I like to go against the grain on some things.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, there's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, I like that match too, and I completely understand where you're coming from with that. But that's kind of the way I would. I would have it, but
Which match do you want to go? The other chamber? Or do you want to do the men's tag?
Let's just do the men's tag because I think that's going to be the easier one, and I think that the men's match. I'm so freaking interested to see where we go with this because. There's a couple of options, but there's a lot of different ways that this thing can go. So, I think with the tag match, everyone on the planet knows where this story's going. I mean, everybody knows. Now, here's the thing. If you had looked me in the eye 6 months ago, and you had said, hey, Tyler, I just came back from the future. And I have been told by... our future president Elon Musk, that I am allowed to tell you one thing. Nobody hopefully not. But one thing about WrestleMania and who is winning at WrestleMania, and he told me I need to tell you about the tag team titles. And I was like, oh, cool, okay. Well, the Judgement Day's losing their championships at WrestleMania. They are going all the way to Mania with the belts. Oh, wow, that's crazy. That's really cool. Okay, who are they losing to? Oh, you're not gonna believe me when I tell you, but they're gonna be losing to two fellas that you're not gonna believe. Is it DIY? No. Is it the Creed Brothers? No. Is it British Strong Style? No. Is it Street Profits? No.
Who?
Is it any tag team that we know? Well, kind of, but not really. They were a tag team, and now they're not, but they're going to be again.
15 years ago.
All right, man, I give up. Oh, and by the way, this is going to be like the most over story other than Cody's in the entire company. Everyone on planet Earth is going to want this to happen. Okay, yeah, you got me, dude. I got no idea. Somebody from NXT? No. Okay, I give up. Who is it? The Awesome Truth. I'd have punched you in the face. I'd have been like, dude, you're high on some kind of drug that I want. Like, what is going on here? There's no way that the Awesome Truth is going to be over as good guys in 2024, good enough to win the tag titles at Mania. There's no way, but somehow,
they are.
By golly, R-Truth is carrying that sucker on his back and dragging the Miz with him. It's unbelievable. So yeah, obviously.
What's so funny too is kind of you bring it up is like R-Truth is dragging it, but I don't know if it'd even be like R-Truth brings it to where we want this, but it's like if we hadn't gotten the recent babyface-ish run from the Miz thanks to Gunther, like I think that'd be even a harder possibility to make this happen because it'd be like. What?
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous.
I don't want to believe that's what you think's going to happen, but the way everything's going,
I mean, it
wouldn't shock me.
I really thought that you had nailed that one because you said you had DIY winning it at Mania, and then DIY started winning matches, and they started talking about, hey, they might get a title match down the road, and I'm like, by golly, are they going to do this thing? Are they going to push this to WrestleMania? And then they didn't, and then they lost, and now I'm sad. But that's okay. It is what it is. So again, I think it goes without saying, Judgment Day's retaining. No offense to British Strong Style is what I'm always going to know them as, but they're called the New Catch Republic now, I guess.
That doesn't stick. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Because there's no justice in the world. But yeah, there's no chance that they're winning. You know, I have my own thoughts as to how I think it should go, but I'm going to let you go first.
I mean, I don't have a lot here. You know, I think... Do we have interference? You know, I think, you know, Tom or Nick, you know, could really easily... one of them could really
Nick
easily...
Mysterio, that crazy guy.
You know, help the win. That wouldn't give me a lot of credibility, but I think that would help further that story. I mean, I think it could go a lot of different ways here. I'm guessing you have interference from someone in this match.
I'm a little disappointed because I thought that, you know, first of all, it took me like 3 weeks for me to realize that Dom and Nick, and then Nick Mysterio, like it took me that long because I'm so tragically dumb. But
I think it's one of the greatest gangs. Right now.
But here, you know, I think it could have been a little bit better. I think that obviously, like Tom is fine, like Tom and Nick Mysterio, because but I thought that he was gonna be like, you know, where's Tom? Because you always say that every time you come out, they say you're Tom and Nick. I know you're Tom, but where's Nick? Like I thought that they could have just done it a little bit better, but like it's kind of grown on me the way it is now. It's just like, who the hell's Tom and who the hell's Nick? What is happening? But it took me a long time for me to realize Dom and Nick, Tom and Nick. Treasure. Like it's so like. What got me was on Friday when he came out and he started talking to Kevin Owens like he was the Miz. And he was like, Miz, where have you been? And Kevin's just like, what is going on? Like, just...
And Kevin played along. He's like, I guess I'm just going to play along
I don't know. Yep.
And then he sat down in the chair during that match.
Yep. And he's like, what? You told me to get a chair. It's just so stupid. But anyway, so, okay. So here's what I would do. I kind of alluded to this earlier. I would have British Strong Style look like they're going to beat Judgment Day. Have them look great like they have been. Keep them strong.
Yes.
Excuse me. But then I would have them be cost the match by Ridge Holland and Sheamus. I think
returning Sheamus.
A returning Sheamus. Now, Sheamus may not be cleared to go at this point. And if he's not, then obviously we can't do it. But I think that if he is good to go... I think right now would be a great time for Ridge Holland to re-show his face and just stare down Pete Dunne and then have Sheamus attack them from behind. And just have it be Sheamus turns heel again, and then you do that's a tag match at Mania. You can do New Catch Republic versus the Brawling Brutes. And have it just be super underdogs versus super big bad guys, and hopefully give the babyface newcomers a nice win.
Yeah. Maybe that happens. Cause I don't know how reputable like these rumors are.
Sheamus teases his return. Yeah, so it's possible he comes back. You know. I think that's probably the way you go with it. I think that the Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate have looked good enough to do something at Mania. I think they're not the most popular team in the world right now, but.
Because last I heard, Ridge Holland was on NXT for like a brief moment, so I didn't know. Because I know he attacked Ilya, but I don't know if they've really done anything with him.
They haven't. They had him have a couple other matches that were like nothing matches, but
gotcha.
Not really any storylines that he sunk his teeth into. So that's how I would kind of play that out. You want to keep both guys looking strong, but you want Judgment Day to retain. So I think that's the way to do it because
interference always works.
Yep, and you want to also have a reason why New Catch Republic or British Strong Style, whatever, loses, but not make them look like a bunch of chumps. So I think that's probably a good way to do it if I had my choice at it.
And then when we were talking about the tag titles before, during our booking episodes, we both agreed on splitting them after Chamber. As of right now, do you think they might split them before WrestleMania, or do you think
I think that they will split them after WrestleMania. I think that's probably like a Raw after Mania type deal, or a WWE draft in like May or June type deal, where they split up the tag titles, and then they hold the tournament on, like let's say, I don't know. You could say Miz and R-Truth just for now. They get drafted to SmackDown, so they keep the SmackDown tag titles, and then Raw has a tournament to crown the Raw tag titles and just do that. And I'd be fine with that. I think it's going to be an after Mania thing or a WWE draft thing. Probably a WWE draft thing. Because I feel like
it's really easy to do that.
Yeah, I feel like TKO is really harping on making each episode of Raw and SmackDown like more action filled and more like high stakes and more title matches and Triple H too. He's made a huge emphasis on that too. So that'd probably be where I would think they'd go with it. Yeah. But who knows?
Well, my only other thought there is too is I wonder if Bron is obviously on SmackDown now. I'm curious since Bron Breakker and Corbin have the NXT tag titles currently, which kind of surprised me. We talked about this a couple weeks ago before, kind of thinking that they'd get their shot, but probably wouldn't retain just because of Bron's likely signing to SmackDown or Raw. So I'm curious if they I think you could either split them, either before or after Mania at this point, or I kind of wonder if you truly unify them, make it just one belt, and rename the NXT titles. I feel that seems a little far fetched that I say it out loud, but I think that's something you could do, and that way you don't necessarily take them off of Bron Breakker and Corbin right away. But at the same time, I feel like, and we talked about this when we talked about Bron before. And sorry, I had to bring up Bron at some point during this podcast.
So it's the law.
It's the law.
It's
have
the law.
to. Spear. But I don't. I'm very torn on seeing him on a main roster show being in a tag team because he doesn't need a tag team to be built up. Corbin doesn't either. Like, they can both stand very strong by themselves on their own, whether he stays in NXT or not. So I'm kind of like I'm intrigued to see where they take their titles. Does Bron defend title? Do they defend the titles and Bron goes back and forth for a little while longer between NXT and SmackDown? That's very possible. We've talked about this before too, where it's like NXT and Gargano even said this in an interview the other week. That was where it's like NXT is getting to that point again, in my opinion, but it's that point to where it's like it's not really a development brand anymore. It could legitimately stand on its own as a third brand. So it's kind of like and I feel like that's slowly happening, maybe a little slower than we'd like to, but I think that is happening. Maybe they don't rename them. Maybe we go back to 3 tag titles. I think there's a lot of interesting ways to go, considering that they're not officially unified right now. They could be easily split, with a draft, with the Raw after Mania, however you do it. And then you still have the NXT tag titles. A lot of different ways. I think I'm very intrigued in the possibilities, only because Bron's now technically a SmackDown star.
Yep.
With a contract now.
Yep.
Which is an also interesting another diatribe we can go down some other time, but another rabbit hole we can go down sometime of the contracts all of a sudden that we're seeing signed publicly. But yeah, no, I was curious. I was curious what you thought there. If you thought they might still split them, but yeah, draft would make that super easy for them to split the titles.
And the reason why I think they're going to split them again is because I think that if they were going to permanently unify them, I mean, it's been this way for over a year now. They'd have done it by now.
Yeah.
So I think that the plan is
almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. So to split it, I think that's just the way that they're probably going to go.
Yeah.
Maybe they unify them after WrestleMania. Who knows? I don't know, but I think that they would have come up with a new belt concept at this point if they were going to unify it, and it probably would have looked exactly like all the other championships with the just giant WWE symbol on it and like 2 wrestlers in the middle just shaking hands or some weird thing. I don't know, like it would have been just poop,
right,
but it is what it is. So yeah, I think they're splitting it, but I think it's not going to be until after Mania.
All right, last match from the card, Men's Chamber. Who's your first 2 in?
Men's Chamber, my first 2 in. So I've thought a lot about this, and I had a direction that I was going to go, but then I realized that it wouldn't be really cool to do the same story twice, which is what I would have done had I gone my original route. So my new route that I am going to do is Drew McIntyre starts the Chamber with Randy Orton. I don't love it.
I have Drew and KO.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense logistically.
But I think Drew's a solid. I think Drew's almost has to start the Chamber.
Yeah, and I think that we're gonna have it for two very different reasons. I'm getting that weird feeling in the air. I have Drew and Randy rekindle an old rivalry because spoilers. Randy's out of there pretty darn quick.
Yes.
I don't have him in there very long. He doesn't need to be in there. He never needed to be in there. He doesn't.
Honestly, he doesn't need to be in there. He's on SmackDown and he doesn't need to be competing for that title.
Yeah.
Why?
So.
Another person that I could have almost seen, if you're going to put Bobby in there, you could have almost put, Reed instead of Randy. Anyway. So I think we both have Drew. How do you see the other 4 spots going?
KO comes out at 3. Obviously get a fresh, guy everybody loves in there. Right away, have him be in there for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And then I would probably end up going with Bobby next. And then I would go with LA Knight at 5. And then, Logan Paul at 6. Okay. I'd have Logan Paul just be the cocky piece of crap heel and heal it up and just be that just slime bag that comes out at 6. It'd be the opposite of what we had before. Obviously, Bianca's super duper popular, coming out at 6, at least in my booking. And then for you, Becky would have come out at 6, right? I think.
Yes.
So it's same thing. For me, a nice little contrast there. He comes out at 6.
I agree with the Paul. I would have. I have it as Bobby coming out at 3rd, followed by Knight, followed by Orton.
Okay. Yeah,
but
that's totally fine.
Really hard. It's almost harder to figure out who's going to probably come out where. Yeah. I think it's very dependent on that starting two, just because you can tell a couple different stories, a couple different ways, depending on who starts, who's the 3rd. I'd be shocked if Paul wasn't the last one out, and partly too. I also say just because. These guys know how to kind of wrestle in any kind of arena where Paul is doing very well and learning, but he's still learning. This will be such a new environment to him, so that kind of making him last would kind of protect that a little bit, I think, in a sense. Protect him just from a pure wrestling standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. And so, obviously, the kind of elimination order, Randy's out first. Okay. And I basically have it... it's not going to be this crap because I'm not going to explain it very well. I can't find the correct way to explain it and make it look good in my imagination. But I think that it's going to be one of those things where he is continuously trying to avoid the hurt lock due to the neck and back problems and shoulder problems. Yeah. And then eventually Bobby catches him in it and Randy has to tap because, his career is... legit, could get ended in that. Yeah. Because Bobby is just an animal. Yep. So I would say that he probably is out first. Give Bobby a big elimination, and then go from there. And then I would. So in both chambers, I have most of the people remaining until the end when all the people are out. Because I just think it's way more fun that way.
Yeah, get everybody in for at least. Have all 6 in there for at least a few minutes.
And then I would have Logan Paul eliminate Kevin Owens, and just kind of continue that rivalry. So KO is out second, as much as I hate to say that. KO is out second, and then for me, I would probably go. Who's left? Drew, LA Knight, Bobby. Who's the 4th person? Who am I forgetting? Why am I forgetting somebody?
No, you've eliminated 2. You've eliminated Bobby and Randy. So you're down to 4.
Oh, and Logan Paul. That's what I'm thinking, yeah. So, and then at that point, I would probably have... I'll have Drew eliminate Bobby. I'll have Drew eliminate Logan Paul. And then it's down to LA Knight. Yeah. and Drew. And I know it's not going to be a thing, but screw it. LA Knight's going over, boys. LA Knight versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. I have Bobby out first.
Poor Bobby.
Well, and part of that just because I feel like outside of Randy, I can understand Randy being in it a little bit more than Bobby, honestly. And I think either Reed will come out and eliminate him. So it wouldn't really make sense just because they're different brands. Or AOP is going to come out and eliminate him. Or Cross. Or maybe all three of them. And you get Street Profits out there.
Yeah.
To where you get a little bit of action, Yes, like as soon as he comes out of his pod or whatever, he's just been, he just gets a beat down and doesn't last very long. And he tries to put the hurt lock on someone and gets reversed really quickly and, whatever. But I have Bobby first out. Randy next. Because I think the main story, two stories I think you're telling is like who's going to be in the U.S. title picture at Mania, and then obviously the number one contender. So I have Randy at second. I have. This is where I'm trying to decide. I have Logan Paul out third.
Sure.
I think. That's what I have a hard time doing there. I have Paul out third. KO eliminates him. But I think right after KO eliminates him, Knight eliminates KO. So my final two are the same as you, but to be like that way Knight here still gets over, looks really strong, kind of like what he's been doing since he's been in the feud with the Bloodline of you're not gonna win, you're gonna get close to winning, but so we keep him strong. He can handle taking a loss because he's pretty well held in the eyes of the fans. But it's like so everybody's like, when's he finally gonna get his chance to get a title?
Yeah.
And then so I'm actually gonna take Drew McIntyre. Part of me hates that seems what to be the writing on the wall is. I think we both obviously had different stories for Drew through WrestleMania, pre CM Punk being hurt. I just don't see in this current iteration of these guys, because I was hoping like a Jimmy or Jay would be in this match, or Jay honestly more. But I will go with what seems to be the consensus right now of Drew versus Seth at Mania. So I have Drew winning the number one contendership over LA Knight. Again, LA Knight looking strong, and that allows him to weasel his way into a title picture for the U.S. title.
Yeah, and I completely get it, and really that's the sensible way to go.
And I wouldn't complain if you won it. I wouldn't mind him winning, because then that gets him on a grand stage, possible night one, main event.
Yeah, and again, I think that Drew's a sensible way to go, because I think that your story can go in a bunch of different ways, but the reason why I'm leaning towards LA Knight is because the way I am looking at the landscape of WWE right now, I will just be very upset if LA Knight does not either fight for and win, or at least just fight for a championship at WrestleMania.
Yep.
Because he's earned it. I think he's earned a win, but I think at this point, unfortunately, plans have changed. I think that the original plan may have been Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens at Elimination Chamber, but I also don't think that's the case at all. I think that, I know it might be difficult to spot these little things that don't happen because of all the injuries and stuff, but I am getting a weird feeling that the number one contendership chamber was never supposed to be a thing. I think that it was supposed to be something else. I don't know what, but it was supposed to be something else, because I think
maybe it was supposed to be.
I think it was supposed to be Cody versus Seth at Mania. I think that was like the original plan on Friday, because on Friday night's SmackDown, they said that next week, which would have been this past Friday, Nick Aldis was going to announce who Logan Paul's opponent was at WrestleMania.
Yep.
They announced that.
Yep.
Pre-planned.
Oh, yeah.
And it never happened, which leads me to believe that whoever it was supposed to be is not going to be that match anymore, or they're just going to tell a different story. So the reason I think that LA Knight's going to fight Seth is because I think the original plan was Kevin Owens versus Logan Paul rematch at Chamber. Kevin Owens loses. LA Knight was going to be named your number one contender at WrestleMania.
Gotcha.
And now, because they didn't do Kevin Owens and Logan Paul again, I think they're doing it again at WrestleMania. I hope Kevin Owens wins. I'd like to see it. I really, really would at this point. So I think that's the direction they're going. And you can like it or you could not. I love Kevin Owens, so I'm always going to be happy to see him in a great, good spot. So, but it's...
He should be fighting for titles.
I think that that's probably where they're going to go. I think it's going to be KO versus Logan Paul 2 at Mania. And so what that means for LA Knight, if that's the case, is either World Heavyweight Championship or nothing. Yeah. And or nothing
triple
is
threat for US title.
I mean, yeah, you could, I guess.
It'd be hard to probably shoehorn that one.
Yeah,
but
you could certainly do that. I wouldn't be super against that, especially if LA Knight still ends up winning. But at the same time, I'm not sure. I think that KO would be really ticked off if that happens, but you never know.
Well,
but yeah, I can see that happening.
Thinking of reacting to what you're saying, it's LA Knight versus Seth. I'm assuming you'd put LA Knight over there, have him win the World Heavyweight Championship.
That's where it gets really messy. And that's why I said I think it makes more sense to have Drew win, because you can do whatever you want.
Right.
For me, you either have LA Knight lose to Seth, or you have him win and then get cashed in on, or there's no good outcome unless you are 100% ready to put the title on LA Knight and go from there. And if that's the case, then great, do it. That's fun. But if you're not, then that's just going to make it worse. So I think that if you do Drew, then your options are Seth retains and then gets cashed in on. Drew wins the title, gets his WrestleMania moment, gets cashed in on. Or triple threat in the middle of the match. Drew McIntyre's about to win.
That's what I've been wanting.
Damian Priest comes down, makes it a triple threat. Drew McIntyre absolutely loses his ever-loving mind. And that's it. So, I think that if you do Drew versus Seth, I think Damian Priest has to walk out of Mania as champion. To me. I don't see Seth continuing. Yeah. And I also don't see Drew getting the big, I've finally had my moment as a bad guy. Right. That's weird. I think that if you have him this guy, he had his moment, crap, now we're never going to hear the end of it. And then Damian Priest cashes in. And then following night on Raw, he's just like, are you kidding me? Just losing his ever-loving mind. And then you can have, a nice little fatal four-way or something, at Backlash, with those three, and then, whoever else you feel like, or another triple threat match if you want, or have a one-on-one and then do another one-on-one later. I don't know.
We almost need a fresh slate with that championship in a sense. Yep. And it's kind of fun because I feel like we always we like what Finn has done.
There's your fourth person. Stick Finn in there and have there be some nice tension in the Judgment Day. Go for it.
Remind me that we're going to bring up something else with tag titles, but going back to LA Knight, I feel like if the trigger is ready to be pulled on him with the title and keep him on the U.S. title picture and put the World Heavyweight, I feel like that'd almost be that'd be the perfect way to get him out of the bloodline stuff right now. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like if you don't put a title on him or put him in a prominent title picture, it's where does he go from here? I mean, there's obviously the Styles feud that's in the wings waiting, but Styles already seems to be butting heads with his OC guys. So it's, to me the fact that we're like, this guy could win, you could do this, or this guy could win, could you do that, and it's like, finally so many more storylines besides Bloodline. It took us a little bit, because it's kind of like, all we had was Bloodline, then all we had was Bloodline Judgment Day, and now we have Bloodline Judgment Day, so many people sitting around the Bloodline that are coming in and out, same thing with Judgment Day, Awesome Truth, like, what?
Yeah.
The fact that
ridiculous.
And that's where I was going with the tag titles too. Like, I'd almost be like, it'd be interesting to see if you ever did get like a dissension within Judgment Day, split the titles that way. Put Dominic with Priest. Put JD with Finn. Like that'd almost be kind of a fun, cool way to see the titles split.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Dissolve Judgment Day, keep Rhea with Priest and Dominic. Ship off Finn and JD to SmackDown with the other titles, and just random literally off the top of why we've been recording, I thought of like, there's 4 people in Judgment Day, you could split titles.
Yeah, you could.
I doubt that'll happen.
Yeah,
highly doubt that'll happen.
That'd be pretty crazy. I think that you are eventually probably around Survivor Series, so you probably got a good 8 months or so. I think you're going to get the Judgment Day Civil War, and you're going to split it up, Dom and Priest versus Finn and JD. The weird thing is, though, like, I don't think Dom could ever be a good guy again at this point. I think that he's just a bad guy for life. Like, I don't ever see, like, this isn't one of those, like, The Rock turning heel in the 90s to just be so popular that it's crazy, or like a Chris Jericho or something like that. This is excuse me. Thank you. This is a kind of nobody, like, legitimately, dude, like, you're the worst. Like, everybody hates you and will always hate you. You're an awful person. Like, I can't see Dominic ever being a good guy. Only because
he turned on his father, and his father's beloved.
Yeah, and it's like...
He should be coming back in too.
Yeah, that'll be good for the LWO stuff. But yeah, I can't see him being a good guy.
Yeah,
and I can't see.
Well, that's
I can't see Finn and JD being the good guys.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Priest.
Put on different brands.
Yeah,
but I mean, a split where Priest leaves them all. I mean, that probably makes more sense. If you could put them on different brands, or if like you drafted 2 and 2 or whatever. Then you can kind of keep everybody heel aligned like you have right now. But Priest was always fun coming up from NXT, and I've always kind of hoped that he, would secure more titles, and that's what I'm so like, just cash in.
Yeah,
you should have cashed in much earlier.
Yeah, I think WrestleMania is where it's going to be. I think, as much as I'd love LA Knight to win the Chamber and do it, I just think it makes more sense to do Drew. I think you can do what you said. LA Knight can be in a triple threat with KO. Have LA Knight pin Logan Paul.
Yeah.
KO gets a match against, that could be Logan Paul can scram off to.
I would just love the mic work between LA Knight and KO for like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah. Dude, even the promo with LA Knight and Drew. Oh God, that backstage promo was fantastic.
Yes.
LA
Knight seems to be the type to where when the moment needs him to rise up to the occasion, he always does.
Yeah, for sure.
We see the dummy button. We need the dummy button back.
No, we do need the dummy button. It's just always a gem. Always a gem. Well, I'm out. I don't have anything else.
No, that's the card.
We're good.
That's the card. I don't, I doubt anything. I mean, SmackDown's already been recorded, because of them all going to Australia. So it's like we're pretty, if you've read ahead for the spoilers.
I have not.
But I mean, and I won't spoil anything here either. I'm
going to see it anyway.
But I doubt we get at this point. I doubt we get any extra matches added. I think that's why we have the Waller effect.
Yeah.
And So I think we're good. I don't see any surprise last second matches. I'd be shocked to see if anything broke out. Who knows? The Waller effect is the big wild card, obviously, in this whole card. So I'm very curious to see what happens with that segment with him and Cody and not Roman, with Rollins. So that should be entertaining. Definitely. Very entertaining with all those three.
Definitely.
And it's like, has Waller really had a true televised match yet?
Yeah.
I feel like they rarely put him in matches.
He's had a few tag matches with Austin Theory.
That's what I thought, but I just feel like we haven't.
He went 1-on-1 with KO a couple times.
That's right. I remember that now. Sorry.
It's all good.
I just find it. It's almost kind of a way of he's I don't know. It's just interesting that we in a sense have 3 different talk shows within WWE. The Waller Effect, KO show, which we haven't seen that as too often. But the Miz show or whatever and stuff. But it's we have a lot of talk show personalities within
for
WWE.
Sure.
But I mean, they're it's a fun little segue to give everything a break and a PLE. So
I agree. Yeah, I think that's what's going to make it a little bit easier to palate, easier to swallow than the Rumble because there was none of that. So you'll have something in between, I think, to really give it a break.
I will text you when I'm caught up to the PLE in the morning.
Please do. Please do. And all of you, go ahead and text in those comments what you guys think about all of our predictions, all of our thoughts on the matches. Obviously we had a few different opinions on who we think's going to win, where people are going to come out. What do you guys think? Who do you guys think's going to end up being more right at the end of the day, myself or Dan? I think Dan's got me beat just because he had Drew winning. I think that's just probably what's going to happen. I would say that's the odds-on favorite, right? So fair. But maybe, who knows? I might get lucky. So, but hey, thank you guys so very much for watching. Appreciate you guys sticking around to the end, and we'll be back, before WrestleMania to do this whole sucker again. And unfortunately, that's going to be that's probably going to have to be split into 2 nights, two recording sessions because it's going to be 2-night pay-per-view. It's going to be insane, but hopefully you guys stick around for that. But again, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all next time.